So in this video, we're going to be using the modeling toolkit to modify our objects and really get a little bit more advanced with how we actually interact with these objects. So I'm just going to start by generating a cube. So I'm going to double click. This all looks fine, so I'll hit create. And I'm just going to scale it up a little bit just so it's a little bit easier to work with. So I have this cube, and on the right hand side I'm using the modeling toolkit tab. If you don't see that tab, just simply click the little modeling toolkit button right here and it should turn it on. So this modeling toolkit window, which is pretty new, I think it was added in 2017 or 2016, is really powerful and allows us to access a lot of properties that previously were kind of hidden and a little bit more difficult to get to. So on the right hand side, at the very top of this, we have a bunch of different selection tools. So this is our object-based selection. So it's very simple. It's the same as holding down right click and going to object mode. This is our vertex-based selection, so to select a different vertex. Our edge-based selection, our face-based selection, and this last one is a UV selection, which we're not going to use for now. There's also this button that's called multi-component, which lets us kind of dynamically select different parts. So as I mouse over different parts, it's dynamically choosing between edges, vertices, and faces. So let's select a face to start. And over here we have some other selection options, camera-based selection, symmetry, which we'll get into later. But further down we have our different tools that we're going to be using. So these mesh tools, these are really used for, combine and separate are used for multiple objects. Smooth is used to smooth an object, which I'll talk about how that works a little bit later. And Boolean is used to combine two objects together as well. We're going to work on the components section, so I'm actually just going to twirl up that mesh section so I only have the component section showing, and I'm going to use the extrude tool. So I have a face selected, and I'm going to click extrude. Whenever I click that, it adds a little gizmo, and it also adds this numerical interface, which lets me choose the thickness, which I can just click and drag left and right on each of these names to select them. So for example, if I click and drag on thickness, it'll push it out further or further in. Local translate is a little bit different than thickness. I'll kind of show you the difference later. Offset is going to move it, it's going to scale it in and out. And divisions will add multiple divisions to your extrusion. So we could have a longer extrusion with a lot of divisions and a different offset. So what we've done is actually just made this really cool modification to our model. I'm going to show you the extrusion tool also using the gizmo. So I just extruded this face, and as I pull it out, it pulls that face out and creates a new dimension on our model. I can move it to the left and right, I can move it up and down. I can also scale while I'm in here, pushing this down, pulling this in, or grabbing both and doing them both at the same time. And lastly, I can rotate while I'm in here. If I click this exterior circle, it switches me to rotational mode and lets me rotate my extrusion. So I'm just going to back up a little bit. I'm just going to select this and delete it, make a new model. And I just want to go over that one more time. So I have a face selected. I hit extrude, and I can either use these numbers over here, or I can do this manually and start creating some complex additions to my model. So I'm just going to extrude for a little bit to show you some of the cool things you could do. So if I hit extrude, and rather than changing the thickness or the translate, if I just offset it smaller to start, what I can do is then extrude again. So I'll click that extrude one more time and start creating some complex box forms. Let's add some divisions to this. I can even select multiple objects by holding down Shift. So I can have both of these extrude at once. And what we're doing is adding tons of complexity to our model. Click extrude again. So this extrude option, though, I do want to be careful with this because you can start to create some errors, and you're going to see some errors whenever you start to use this tool. So use it cautiously. But if I extrude, and so I clicked that, it's made a new face. And if I don't do anything, if I don't make any modifications, like I just click off of it, this new face has actually created an additional hidden face on top of this face that I can pull up like that. And what ends up happening is you'll start to get these strange rendering errors. I'll extrude a couple more times to see if we can get one of those errors. Nope. I'm going to start getting errors and problems. And like right now, there's like a bunch of hidden edges and hidden faces within here that can really produce some serious problems if we're not careful with our project. So use that extrude wisely. If you click extrude, you need to do something with it. You need to either move it or offset it or have some sort of change. Otherwise, you're going to keep creating errors within your model that can, ultimately break the entire thing. Something else that, now that we're at this stage of modifying our model, is that we can accidentally create inversions, and we don't really want to do that either. So if I hit extrude and I go down, anytime I see black in here, that's usually a problem. And so I just want to be clear that we're making good, strong models. Let's say I want to make a hole in this, though, because you might think, oh, I can just punch a hole like that. The black is not what I want to see ever. So this is a bad hole. I'm going to show you a good hole. I'm just going to undo a couple times. I'll extrude, change my offset down. So I'll give it a little bit of an edge. Then I'll extrude again, and this time I'll push it down inside. So that is a proper looking hole or divot. That's what it should look like. I'll do that one more time on this edge. So if I select this face and I extrude it, change that offset down just a little bit, just to give it an edge. It needs some sort of edge there. And then extrude again. I can push that in. So see, notice there's no black. It's not like I hit extrude and then just went wild with it and created this accidental, this type of thing. This is not what I ever want to see with your models. And in fact, these won't really translate to a game. So keep that in mind. Some of the other options within here is the Bevel tool. The Bevel tool is primarily used on edges and faces. So if I have a face selected, I'm going to start fresh just so that it's a little easier to work with. The Bevel tool will allow me, so I'm just going to have that face tool, select face. Bevel will add corners to your object, and it gives us a bunch of options like how harsh those little corners are, how many segments. So if I bevel it, for example, like that, and then I add a lot of segments to it, I can create a smoother, rounded edge, how it miters, the depth of the bevel. You can get some really interesting results with this tool. So that's the Bevel tool. I can also do it on an individual edge. So if I have the edge tool selected and I select an edge and I hit bevel, I can just bevel that one edge if I like. Create some more complexity there. The bridge tool we're not going to use. That's to connect to like openings. And the add divisions tool we're not really going to use. Just to show you how the add divisions work, you can select a face and click add divisions, and it'll make that face a little bit more complicated so that we can work with it a little bit better. You can use it, but there's other ways around that. So those are the 4 component tools along with how we make selections within this modeling toolkit. And so go ahead and have some fun with these. Try them out. Try to create a model that isn't completely broken. Remember, if I just start doing things like this is not good. If I start seeing the black areas appearing or the flickering, I need to stop and restart the model or undo until it fixes it. So keep that in mind, and I'll see you in the next video.